あったけど AV 見たら死ぬって感じの。
じゃあ流しますね。
Numbers. もうビデオです。多かったですね。
Hello and welcome to whatever this is. I really love internet horror, but I feel like a lot of the time it just gets really stale. If you look at the current state of analog horror, I think you get what I mean. Everything just gets recycled, and with AI especially, there's a lot of slop out there, and as an artist I have to remind you, please use Nightshade to protect your artwork. But one thing I noticed is as soon as these things start getting stale, people just look at something that's either even more retro or like try and find something else that they can take inspiration from, and the whole thing just happens over and over again. One of the reasons why I like fake documentary Q is it seems like they just pick something from any era and then they make a really authentic sort of video about it. One of the examples is one of the most recent uploads is called Telephone Number, and it has this really painfully accurate low budget early 2000s thing that's in it. Like, even the people that are playing the schoolgirls are clearly just grown women who aren't giving a shit, and it's just really good. I'm making this video because I personally believe that all of the episodes are connected somehow, and I don't really see a whole lot of super detailed stuff about it in video format on YouTube at least, and I also have access to the book, which I haven't really seen English speakers make a video on yet. There are currently 2 seasons. The second season has like 3 episodes that aren't aired yet as of the time of recording, not that we're even getting anywhere close to that today. The book is cut into 8 sections, and 7 of them are expansions on the specific videos that they're summarizing, and one of them is just entirely original, but we'll get to that when we get to it. It's entirely in Japanese. It's only available on Japanese Amazon and Japanese Kindle, and I have it, but my Japanese is like N4 going on N3, so it's not the best, but I am trying. Each time there's a corresponding video chapter, I'll put that in after the video analysis section. But I'm specifically doing like 5 videos per part because I do have everything for like the whole series so far, but I'm studying Japanese and I have the free time that I have to do these, so...
But I'm what you call an idiot.
So, the first one is Cursed Video. A TV company had some footage in its vault that the Q team had been given access to, somehow. The footage came from a TV program on investigating weird shit that viewers would submit, like on forums, urban legends, and weird locations that they've been to. This one is about a video at a video store where it's said to kill you if you view it, a la The Ring or any other cursed video ever. The thing that we're watching seems like raw footage with the Q narration on the top filling us in what's happening. It starts out with a printout and an archive of a 2chan post showing stuff about the video store and the fact that it has a strange video, but it doesn't really have information about the video itself, and there's not that much about it online either. The store looks like it's closing down at the time, and the program crew go around trying to look for things. They do eventually find a VHS shelf, but it's mostly porn. Of course it is. So they talk to the employee about talking to the manager, and the manager is kind of come in to talk to them. I just think it's really funny that this poor employee looks so tired, and then the cameraman is just goblining out and like peeking at him through the window while he's trying to do his job. He's not living a life I envy. So it turns out that the owner does know about the tape, so it's either a real tape that's killed people, or he's just cashing in on the urban legend because he was trying to get his dying video store some more publicity, and it's not really working, but he's trying his best. I don't know, he just seems a bit strange, and even on the outset it's like weird footage that we see from a cancelled TV show, but it never outright says this is an actual cursed video or this is actual paranormal footage and stuff like that. It's more context clues and stuff in the book chapters that really give us an impression of whether or not it's actually haunted. After some looking around, he does find a videotape that he gives to them, and it has this tape on the front that says, "This video will kill you if you watch it," crudely scribbled there, and a very cliche picture of a horror character on it. Honestly, it looks like the most cliche thing in the world. The dude's even like, I mean, it says it'll kill you, right? Maybe.
まあ見てみます。いやそこはもうこの通り見たら死ぬビデオです。です。嘘は書いてないです。自己責任。
So they go and watch the video. It starts with looks like some stupid low-budget TV spoopy hour, and then somehow cut into that is the haunted video. So someone used this tape to just stick it in there. Or if you believe that it's actually haunted, then the video for some reason chose this movie to just appear on. The movie itself is called Grudge of the Doll, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the video. It's just that the video is being hosted by this tape for some reason. You can immediately tell when this cursed video starts because it's entirely different. It's just this hard cut to this corrupted, really cold, dark footage, and it's all pictures of these memorial pictures of people. You know when you go to your grandma's house and you see these old relatives photos of people that you never met, and it looks like they were taken ages ago, and it's like people in their Sunday best sitting on the bookcase and all that kind of stuff. That's what I mean. The first one, however, you just can't see any of his facial features. It's all silhouettes, and it's just a guy in a suit. I guess we'd have to match the head shape to someone to find a clue, but the other two are women. It just switches in and out between the two rapidly as well. It's like the video is fighting for dominance on the screen, and it's just not supposed to be there. According to the shop owner, no one was renting it until high school kids one day came in with this urban legend that they somehow heard about, came up with, or whatever, but then all these kids started coming in and renting it out of curiosity. He learned from one of them that apparently there was only supposed to be one picture at first, but there were more that started appearing over time, so he thinks that someone started editing in more of these funeral pictures as a prank. The crew and this guy all conclude that it's a prank because there's no real way to find out if anyone actually died from it at the time of filming or anything, but the director does buy the VHS from the guy for 12,000 yen? So this footage was never broadcast, but the production company did tell Q that this was all fake. So this immediately sets up that this was actually not a cursed video. However, the director did die from a skull fracture. The cameraman got an illness around that time and then died later, but he did get the illness from the VHS. And again, this is just something that people say like, well, the person who watched the video died eventually, therefore it's cursed, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean anything. Q has access to the VHS because it was included with the other information that they have with this footage in that production studio's vault. So we get to see it. The footage starts 9 minutes and 34 seconds into this random movie. I tried looking at everything as close as possible to see if there was any extra hints, but there's nothing really going on besides the eeriness and the fact that there is one extra picture that we didn't see at the time. There were three. There was one male and two women, and now there's another man who looks way younger, and it looks like a bit out of place, like maybe the era was slightly different or they're just filming in a different location, but it's also a funeral picture. What's even more interesting is that the video then ends with the director and the cameraman talking after leaving the store, and they notice the shop owner clearly said that there were 4 portraits when they only saw 3 in the video.
わかんない。4人家の。あれ4人じゃないの
I went to look back at the store manager, and I'm convinced that he's not actually looking at the screen. You can't really see where he's looking when you look at the reflection from the TV, but when he says stuff like, and I really like this sequence, he's turned away. So he's definitely not watched it. I don't know why. I mean, maybe he's just superstitious, but I don't trust the guy. He could have easily just gotten the number wrong as well, because maybe someone who rented it before told him that there were 4 portraits on it, so that's the information that he reiterated to them when he couldn't have known that the count was off because he's never watched the video. But let's get into the chapter of the book. Firstly, everything in the book has a pseudonym, and including the members. So there is this person called A, who was a director of his own weird show involving user-submitted stories, and he sent the footage to Q because he was personally scared by it. When he watched the original cameraman's footage, he saw 3 portraits, but when he watched the thing himself from the actual tape, he saw 4, and he got so scared that he went to them so they can sort it out. It's their problem now, and since they didn't bring him up afterwards, I'm sure he's fine. After the video went live, Q ended up actually finding out the high school where those high schoolers had come from that the shop owner mentioned, who had started making an urban legend about it or whatever. So they went and they interviewed some alumni from like 20 years ago, and these stories actually confirmed that there is something cursed about the tape. Yoko, who was 14 at the time, says that the video rumor wasn't actually very popular. She personally never watched the video or even saw the VHS, but she did hear a story about these 3 classmates, watched the video, bragged about it, and then disappeared. But it was a hoax jokes because they came back and it was just a prank that they were playing, supposedly a prank that they were playing to make it look like they had actually gone away somewhere. But the boy of the group started acting really strangely when he came back. Then he transferred schools and no one ever saw him again. Another person they talked to was Hayashi, who was 16 at the time. His brother was obsessed with the video and rented it frequently to watch it with friends. Hayashi refused to watch the video himself, but one time his brother came up with this idea to edit the video as a prank, and Hayashi was going to take part in it, but then the project just fell apart and stopped. Hayashi asked repeatedly what happened and whether they were actually going to go through with the prank, and his brother would just mumble stuff and never actually get back to him. 15 years later, his brother died from an illness, and Hayashi got his hands on the camera that the brother had apparently been making materials with for this prank, and instead of it being additional pictures or anything like that, it was just footage of the brother staring at the screen, speaking, but you can't hear what he's saying because there's no audio. The book does contain additional QR codes that have this footage that isn't included on the videos, so that's how I got this. The last person interviewed is the oldest person, who was 20 at the time that this stuff happened. He says that the woman in the photo was actually rumored to be a witch. Her photo was taken from this urbex spot where people would go to leave written curses, notebooks, and other random crap. We actually get a picture of this as well, and it just shows this mountain of what's apparently mostly negative wishes and some sort of negative magic, like curses, death wishes, all that kind of stuff. Of course, the film would be cursed if it directly showed footage of some grumpy witch lady who was surrounded by negative shit. So that kind of makes sense. But I also wonder at this point if the curse is somehow deliberately choosing people, because some of these people who watched it were totally fine, and I do think that the director who originally sent the stuff to Q was fine, because I think they would have brought up if something happened to him or if he disappeared somehow. But it's either that these things work as a virus, so some people like immunocompromised in real life, and maybe the religious or curse version of that is that they're more susceptible to these kind of things and some people are just fine. Maybe your belief in the supernatural has something to do with it, or the curse is sentient and is choosing specific people who are either connected to something that we don't know about yet, or they've done something to insult the person who is behind the curse somehow, and that's how they're getting cursed, because the curse needs to be activated by something in particular. This is something that will become way more apparent in the other episodes, but it's good to just have it at the back of your mind right now. The second video is called Strange Messages. This episode doesn't have a book entry, but it has several things that I think do come back in later episodes. This is about a series of mysterious voicemails left to this poor woman. This incident occurred about 30 years ago, so she ended up recording them after receiving them for a while. The cassette that she sent them has over 60 calls on it, and this is just the stuff that she recorded. We don't know how many had happened before she started recording them. A lot of the calls are just weird nonsense, like noises, shuffling, voices that you can't really hear, and they have this very distorted quality to it, as if the phone had been damaged when these recordings stop being warbled after a while, so it doesn't really make sense. It's almost like the person themselves was a wavy recording that gradually got better over time or got closer to the phone to be able to be heard more. There's even one that says a sequence of numbers over and over again. I don't really know what they are, but later on in the series there's actually a series of numbers that end up being a year date, and in Japan they do the year first, then the month, then the day. But there were some other things, and like I said, my own language skills right now, not the best, but even I did manage to hear certain things, and then I went into the comment section to look at what Japanese people were saying that the voices were saying. One of the things that I heard was like me ga atta, like something about eyes, and then I was like something kagami no naka or something. I was like, what the hell? Piecing it all together, once the voice actually comes closer, we end up getting this. I met eyes with you in the mirror. I want to talk to you a bit. Please call me. All of those recordings just ended up being this message, and after this message became clear, the voicemails all stopped, so it seemed like this was the mission of whoever was sending him. Who knows why they had so many problems doing that, but once they did, They just didn't care anymore. But the interesting thing is, this voice from 30 years ago sounds a lot like the voicemail that the current day person sent to Q to tell them what was happening.
いたずら電話がかかってくるようになりまして、ずーっと悩まされたんですけど、それで私ちょっとお話がしたいので、よろしくどうぞ。
So it's just really weird because I'm pretty sure that someone's voice can change a bit over 30 years. I guess depending on what age they were. Maybe this person was already old 30 years ago, so their voice didn't change that much. The important things to take with you for future episodes are the fact that there is a woman talking about living in a mirror, the weird date being repeated, this recording can somehow bring someone closer. Like, they're a bit distant at first, and then the act of somehow doing some sort of repetition with technology like a recording seems to make them a bit stronger somehow. Those are important things. What the deceased left behind. This episode has no book chapter but introduces a very important location. This opens with some dude absolutely struggling during a hike. This is a group of people who had a friend called Naoto. About a decade ago, Naoto died an OD that was suicide related. Every year since then, they come to pay tribute to him in this clearing and just have lunch there, leave him some flowers and leave. When Naoto was found, they found his body but not his belongings. And since he died in this clearing, as you'll see, there's not really anywhere for his bag to just roll off by itself, especially if it was a suicide, so it was very strange that his bag was just gone. They go up to the top of the mountain and start paying respects. I will say, this group apparently goes every year, yes, but it just seems kind of awkward. Like, don't get me wrong, everyone grieves differently, and sometimes when something like this happens, people drift apart because they don't know how to deal with it anymore. So I understand if they used to be really good friends and now they're not good friends that much because they can't deal with the pain or something like that, but it just seems strange. Like, when this guy puts the flowers down, there's this really awkward fuss about whether or not he should take the flowers home with him. And it's like, why would you even need to have this conversation if you've done this for like a decade? Shouldn't this just be a practiced thing? They go and clean up some rubbish around the area to make it more respectful for his resting place. But they find the bag. It seems like they've cleaned up the area a lot before. They would have seen the bag there. And if the bag was lying there for a decade, it would have been way more weather beaten than it is. Someone placed this bag here. Maybe the person who took it. And once again, keep this in your pocket for later because bags mysteriously reappearing with things on them to show you the ghosts happens quite a lot in this series, and I think that there's a reason for that.
こういうのね、撮ってたやつよくスナップで。
そうやったかな。
確かに山の上の時持ってきてたかも。あいつ多分結構撮ったよこういうので。
入ってんのかね。なんか映ってんのかね。
It's some very glitchy bullshit as well, but it's definitely the mountain and it's in black and white. But we get a color picture of Naoto hiking, taking a picture of himself somehow. Now, it's weird. It's either someone had taken his camera out for some reason without him knowing, or maybe he was with someone that we don't know about and they had taken the picture of him walking for some reason and then put the camera back in his bag, took his bag, and then dumped it there on the anniversary the decade after his death. Or Naoto saw someone who looked a lot like him and was following them up the mountain and took a picture of them, and they lured him up there for whatever reason. Because the next couple pictures are crazy demon black smoke. So it could be either of those. This one is this big black plume, and at the bottom you can see what I think it looks like goat's legs, so it's definitely like a demonic thing, and they're holding the bag with them as well, so it could really be either one. Taking a picture of yourself, or the owner of a camera having a picture of themselves or video of themselves at the time of their death, does come back in the book, although it's not in a chapter related to this video. So again, I'm giving you some homework to write some of the stuff down. The next video is called Exorcism. It's a promo video for some psychic that walks like a JoJo character. He shows up in this village because there is a house where there is a couple who has a possession problem and he's going to figure it out for them. It gives off the impression that he chose this case for a promo video because he walks in assuming that it's all going to be okay and it's like a routine thing for him. There's this really funny character bit where his assistant is recording him just walking down the fucking field for 50 minutes and the guy's like, hang on a second, second, man. I think you should save some of that footage for when we actually get to the exorcism. And the camera guy's like, oh, whoa, okay. The exorcist enters the house and talks a bit about demons and the way that they can get into the house and how they possess people. He also goes around the house to look at the energy to see how this could have happened. The first thing is that he finds some characters written down that apparently create a portal for demons and ghosts to come in. However, he brushes this off because he says that if the demon or the ghost finds you incompatible to be possessed, then they can't possess you and there's no problem with that. So I guess it's kind of like a software thing, right? Some got a mini USB, some got proprietary software.
My book sells. Get out of it, Cook.
But him brushing this off seems a bit strange to me because we all know those movies where there's like a demon in the house and even if it doesn't possess you, it's still breaking your shit and trying to kill you. So I don't really know why he thinks that it's okay if the demon's in your house but it just can't get you in terms of possession. It does seem like he's just brushing these things off a bit, and since he's an exorcist, you'd think that he would understand how important this stuff is. But he does get to the possession part, and he says that yes, she is possessed, but it's not by anything malicious, it's by the ghost of a child, and he's pretty confident that he can just get the child out. So he changes into his garbs and they start the thing. Things immediately go wrong. I can't tell if this ghost child is either laughing or crying, probably a mixture of both. Does some googly moogly shit, and then he cries out that this is a great failure and he looks really frustrated about it. But the video glitches and shows us one of the things that is not very nice in the background. This makes me think that maybe the child ghost had possessed the woman because the child found refuge in this human's body because maybe the demon can't get to them. So maybe the demon is the one who's causing the problems here and the child is crying. It doesn't seem like it ended that well, so I don't think that the promo video was much of a promo, but that's what we get. The 5th episode is called House of Mirrors. It has a couple things that put the voicemail episode in an interesting light as well. This is an urbex style video of some guy going into a property at night and filming everything. He's actually somewhat related to the previous owners of this house. His mum knew the owners, a husband, a wife, and the grandma that lived with them. However, the grandma had dementia and one day just disappeared. The wife became convinced that the grandma was living in the mirrors or had gotten stuck in the mirror world and put a whole bunch of mirrors around the place, probably to try and get the grandma back out or guide her to somewhere or something. Anyway, they then moved out of the house. The video maker's mum had told him, "Hey, you're a photographer. I think you should go in there and film the house for them." And this guy thinks that it's maybe to show that the grandma isn't in any of the mirrors if he films all the mirrors in the house, and the wife might feel a bit better about that kind of thing. But there are some strange things that happen because this is a Q video. Some of the characters that are on these boxes are the opposite way around, like they're being viewed through a mirror. This sliding door is totally flipped around. The latch and the way that the door opens should be on the other side. And there's also some logos for products that I don't really know that well. The Japanese comment said that these are also flipped around. Well, some of them are, anyway. So it's apparent that there's some weird thing going on in this house where some things are from the mirror world and some things aren't. Like the house itself is sort of caught between the two. And it makes you think, maybe it is pretty easy for a human to get stuck in there if that's the case. Because as the guy walks around, it seems like there's just something in there with him. Even though he's a bit dismissive of it at first, he starts getting gradually more creeped out until he's looking into the makeup mirror that the grandma had used a lot, so it's a very significant mirror to her. And the door behind him opens by itself to reveal another mirror inside. He comes to his senses and just gets out of there. What I think is interesting is, I think that this is the first instance of two mirrors looking at each other. So everywhere in the house, there were just a whole bunch of mirrors, but this is the only instance where the door opens so that these two mirrors could connect. So I wonder if there's something about creating a portal between the two. You know, have you ever done that when you're a kid, where you put up a mirror to another mirror and looked at the way that they reflected into each other? I wonder if that's somehow significant to get through the whole thing. An interesting thing that I saw in the comments as well is maybe the camera itself is the one that's being transported from the mirror world and back, because the camera kind of acts as a mirror and it's being pointed to the mirrors a whole lot. I don't know, it's kind of confusing, but I think that's a cool idea. But the guy himself looks fine. His shirt is not mirrored, the buttons are on the right way. I don't think that he's a mirror person. I think that he managed to get out of there, whatever was happening there. But when he reviews the footage, he realizes that there were 2 people in the mirrors that were not with him in the house. One was a man that to me looks suspiciously like the exorcist guy or the guy from the picture in the haunted video, and the other one's some random girl. This guy, he just looks a lot like the exorcist, and I feel like he's important somehow. Maybe, I don't know. One of the things that I love about this series is that sort of retroactive fear, or the you didn't notice it till afterwards kind of thing. For example, imagine if you went to a graveyard and you were trying to take pictures to prove that there were ghosts there and you didn't see any, but you only check the camera when you're at home. So it's like a couple of days later, total daylight, there's some loved ones over, it's like a totally safe environment, and then you check the camera and you notice that the entire time that you were at those graveyards, there were just so many ghosts all around you, and you feel like, okay, you were safe because you came home, but you couldn't tell what the danger was, if there was any, until you actually got home afterwards. So you had no idea that maybe that place would have been the place that you died and you just got lucky or something, but you only know that afterwards, and that is such a cue kind of thing. If you remember from the second video, there was that woman who said, "You met eyes with me in the mirror and I want to talk to you." So there's that. Another interesting thing is this house looks really messy. It looks like it wasn't something where the people moved, but maybe they fled and they abandoned it because of something that happened to them, so they had to flee in a hurry. The last video that we're doing is bivouac.
What?
I didn't know what this means, but it's an emergency camping that is unplanned, like if a trip takes too long and you have to camp before you get to your location, that kind of thing. This video starts in broad daylight as an outdoor camping influencer is heading into the mountains to stream herself. I don't think she intends it to be a scary video because her demeanor is really nice, and it says stuff like unexplained, unintended things happened later on kind of thing. I trust influencers as far as I can throw Amberlyn Reed in a shot put competition, so if this was some random person's video, I would immediately think it was fake, but since this is Q, I'll give this woman the benefit of the doubt that this wasn't supposed to happen and the stuff that happened is like real in universe. As it starts getting dark, she comes to a fork in the road and there's this voice saying, "Here." And she just follows it. Maybe she doesn't hear it, or at least consciously doesn't hear it or something, but it's another weird thing where it's like she's just following something up the mountain that we don't understand. And she's an outdoor influencer, so she's done this stuff before. Any person who's had any experience outdoors knows that you don't just scoff at the signs. You follow the directions that you know. You keep on the path and you look at where you're going. You have to make sure about this kind of thing because if you've been outside more than once in your life, you know that a lot of these trails, you're not as good as finding all of them as you think you are. Missing 411 isn't a bunch of demons in the woods, it's just that you don't know the outdoors as much as you think you do, even if you're really, really cocky. The more cocky you are, the more danger you're gonna be in, probably. Either she's dumb, and she's just walking around like that anyway and somehow she hasn't died before this point, or 2, she is an outdoor influencer who has experience but the voice is guiding her to ignore these signs for some reason. On the way there's also a bunch of these landmarks as well, like these little red things that are used for markers. She comes to another fork and decides to proceed without really looking at the sign, and it's totally dark, so she's got the shitty flashlight and she's quite tired and she's just booking it anyway. She comes to a path that splits off into 3, and again, she doesn't really seem to know where she's going, so it just doesn't, it's not working out too good. There's some really strange things as well, like how she steps over this log without seeming to care that she almost drops off the fucking incline. She also admits that she doesn't know where she is, and just, it doesn't really give a shit that she's distracted by these things. She also had the foresight to bring a camping thing with her for an emergency situation, so she's not dumb. It's like there's something specific going on with her.
あのちっちゃいのが好きです。あれです。見えない。
During the night, she hears disturbances outside and goes to check them out. One of the pieces of red tape that was used for marking earlier has been taken and made into a warning sign with some rocks there. This time, a male voice says, "Here," and she reacts to it on camera.
ここ。
She immediately leaves and walks in the dark to get away and ends up making it to her destination. The ending notes also confirm that she didn't hear the voice at the midway mark, even though she kind of reacted to it, and we can clearly hear it in the video. And also, even though she clearly reacted to the one at the mountain. The one beforehand sounds a bit like a woman, and the one in the camps definitely sounds like a male. After going through the entire series that's currently available and reading the book, I do definitely feel like this mountain stuff is all related, because there's a direct thing about the mountain and like I don't want to really get too ahead of myself, but like people in the mountain doing very not good things, and I definitely think that this and Naoto's thing are connected somehow. But in any case, I only have time for this many this time, and I want to do a quick recap first before I end it, just so that you have that in your mind. Hopefully, by the time I make the next one, a bunch of people have watched through Q on their own to check out how amazing it is, and we'll get back into it with the next one. There's a cursed video that has killed or at least made certain people disappear, and has portraits of people that are unknown besides one person who is rumored to be a witch who is directly related to like a hell shrine full of curses. Then there's a guy who kills himself in the mountains and has a picture of a demon that he took before his death. His bag also is mysteriously gone and then comes back a decade later for some reason. A woman goes to the same place and hears disembodied voices in the mountains that try and guide her to a specific path, and then she manages to escape before anything bad happens to her. There's a house with a woman who is possessed, but the child that possesses her seems to be hiding from something way worse that's lurking in the house that curses a man who looks like he ends up in a mirror dimension that someone goes to investigate. Sounds confusing? Yes.